During the spring of 2022, I received several boxes of old electric vehicle materials and newsletters that were from the SacEVA Association. They came from Tony Saigan's garage. He had managed the newsletter and website during the 1990s. So at our November 2022 SacEVA meeting, we decided it was time to celebrate an important milestone. 30 plus years electric vehicles in Sacramento and support by the actual users. Here's the first page of the December 1992 newsletter. Our region was way ahead of its time, and we are still the largest local volunteer EV user group in the country. If you are in our area, come to one of our meetings at the California Auto Museum. People who made this possible were Ruth McDougall from SMUD, Mike Brown, Richard Miner, Tony Saigan, Tim Laurie, Mark Balke, Steve Smith, Bill Dean, Arthur Cartwright, Ed Brannon, Dick Park, Dennis Merritt, Jerry Mikulish, Stan Witherspoon, and others. Without them, electric vehicles would be at a different place. I divide these 30 plus years of SacEVA into 3 phases. Phase 1. Owner and small company conversions, 3-wheelers. Phase 2. Small production runs. We had the Ford Ranger EV, GM EV1, the famous EV1, and the Toyota RAV4 EV. Phase 3, we finally made it. EVs are here to stay. Started with the Tesla Roadster, Nissan Leaf, and Chevy Volt. My first experience with an electric vehicle was 1993, on a half-mile course on the UC Davis campus. We were recruited at the Whole Earth Festival. It takes place on Mother's Day every year. I was one of the 11 and had the possibility to try out a City L, Sol Electra Geo Metro conversion Horlacher Hotzenplotz. This vehicle just stays in my memory, and I was able to drive it once again in 2016 in Germany. This is the City L, a 3-wheeler and part of the 1993 UC Davis test drives. One of SMUD's and later CARB's employee, Craig Childers, collected them, and they were used every year for parades and other events, so they never vanished out of our memories. Another 3-wheeler, this one was displayed at the Real Good Solar Living Center open house in Ukiah, 1996. It was made by Nevco and called Gizmo and was made in Eugene, Oregon. It has a very interesting way of getting into the vehicle. If you want to see more interesting and early electric vehicles, go to evalbum.com. In the second half of the 1990s, we had a lot of races going on with EVs. Here we are at the Sacramento racetrack, racing a GM EV1 against conversion EVs. Sacramento City College, a local junior college, had EV conversions around 1998. Here we have a VW Bug with a motor from Hungary and battery management and inverter from Italy. These classes were my real experience with EVs. My Sacramento City College instructor, Gregory McRae, was a real genius, and this is one of the first electric Fiats. UC Davis received a couple of Honda EV Pluses. EVs may be the answer for reducing local pollution in California. An article by the Aggie newspaper on October 1998. The Honda EV Plus was used to run class materials between UC Davis Extension locations in Sacramento and Davis, ideal for electric car at that time. UC Davis gets its first public EV charging station 1998. The christening of the first EV at UC Davis Extension. We called it Sparky and made a beer for the occasion and named it Electrolyte. The classic green carbon Sparrow. Even Chrysler was early on with its electric Caravan. UC Davis Whole Earth Festival on Mother's Day weekend. Every year for over a decade, we showed electric vehicles. I can't even remember how many car protests and meetings we would go to. Here we're meeting up at the city garage next to the car building to go over to the Cal EPA and voice our concerns. This was our GM EV1 with the first apartment public Magna charging station. And everybody, unfortunately, knows what happened to the EV1s, ending up in Arizona as scrap metal. The Ford Ranger EV, first with lead-acid batteries, later with nickel metal hydride. And unlike the EV1, the Ford Ranger EVs were safe from crushing and given out to people. One of AC propulsion conversion EVs. AC propulsion was a big player in the early days of EVs. You can see here a Toyota RAV4 with a range extender. It is at one of our meetings in Davis. The range extender is a gasoline-powered, mostly motorcycle engine. In April of 2009, the first public Tesla charging station was opened in the city of Woodland. Fans of the Tesla Roadster and factory vehicles from Tesla came to this event to celebrate a charger for Teslas. At the 2012 Whole Earth Festival, again at UC Davis, we're showing full production cars. Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt. In 2013, the first public fast charger or quick charger was in Vacaville, California, once called Voltageville, because the amounts of L2 chargers in the city was enormous. Ed Hustis, their transportation manager, was a leader and so ahead of its times. At a Davis EV meetup and celebration of Craig Childers' life in 2013, we assembled all the EVs at the Davis Farmers Market. The Swiss Solar Taxi, on its around the world in 80 days, stopped over in Davis and for a photo in front of the California Capitol. Just look at the selection of EVs we have now and how far we have come. We are still fighting to make EVs accessible to all and to move away from fossil fuels. Our meetings at the California Auto Museum are always a treat. So if you're in the area, once again, stop by and join us. You'll see some interesting vehicles and have a lot of people to talk to if you have questions. It has been a long struggle, but worth every second.